Hi, welcome Susie, welcome DS Image Consulting. Hi, hi everyone. Hi Adi, welcome everyone to this Empowered Women interview series. Hi, hi. Vanakkam, vanakkam, and abundant Thursday to everyone. Welcome everyone to this Unstoppable Shakti's Empowered Women interview series. And today is the show 3, and we are having a multi-talented guest with us today to discuss about her various interests and how she is handling everything in her life with ease, with a naughty kid too. So are you ready to hear from her? Yes? No audio. Are you able to hear me? Hi, hi. Hi. Anybody could say whether you are able to hear me or not? Are you able to hear me? Yes. Thank you, Susie. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that I am audible. So I have invited our guest Kripa, and let me introduce her to you. Today we have a multi-talented guest and friend of mine with us, Kripa. And just like any other woman, she lovingly plays a multiple roles as a mother. Yes, Kripa, I'll once again invite her. I don't know why I am not able to accept her invitation. Let me invite her once again. Sometimes Insta is having a glitch like this. The guests are not able to join. Yes, Kripa, I have once again sent an invitation to you. Please accept that. So I am trying to accept Kripa. Kripa, I am not able to accept your invitation. Though I have given accept, it's not going live. I don't know what's the problem. I will once again request her. Kripa, now you sent a request. Let me try from your side. You sent me a request. I will try to accept. Okay? Kripa? Kindly bear with us these technical glitches. I am accepting, but it is not.
Finally.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. you, Kripa.
Hi, hi, hi.
After little struggle, you have joined
I know,
us. So
I know.
I am officially welcome you to this Unstoppable Sakti's Empowered Women interview
Thank
series,
you.
and I am just making introduction about you. Let me repeat once again since it was breaking. So here we have our multi-talented guest and my a friend of mine who is Kripa. And just like any other woman, she lovingly plays multiple roles as mother, wife, content creator, online chemistry tutor, blogger, and above all, I love her style. So I would always like to call her as a style icon. And she also happily says that she is forever grateful that she had found a way to integrate and accommodate many things that she loves into her life as lifestyle. Let us hear from her. So over to you, Kripa. We would like to know more about you.
Hi, hi. Okay, so I think that introduction covered a lot of it. So yes, just like any other mom, I too play multiple roles. I take chemistry tuitions online, and I've also blogger slash content creator. I don't like using the word influencer because I feel that ends up meaning something else. Most of the time, the content I create is for me. It's more of my way of, keeping things in one place for then, like, when I want to look back on it kind of thing. So, yeah, multiple things. Of course, like any other person, household work and chores and errands are also a part of everyone's life. So, all of that also comes in. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Kripa. I know you from blogging time itself. I was also a blogger, and from that time itself, I know you. And
Yes,
we have done many things in the Instagram page also. And I
yes.
am so happy to have you here as
Thank you.
our third guest in this interview
Thank
series.
you so
So
much.
uh, we would like to know how you started your career as an online chemistry tutor.
Okay, so I actually started offline. I was a chemistry teacher in a school in Bangalore for 4 years. Basically, I finished my master's in biochemistry, and then I was looking. One side, I was writing my entrance for PhD. At the other side, I was also looking for a job to do. And I got this offer. I didn't get PhD, but I got this offer, and it was a really good offer. So I just took it up and I started. And once I started in school, um, I started getting offers to take tuition at home as well. So I kind of started on my in my house dining table, me and five other kids, and that's pretty much it. The online part came after I got married and moved to Chennai, because by that time I got married and moved, I'd already been working and doing tuition for about 4 years. So I had created a network in Bangalore, and a lot of people knew that what I was doing. So I started getting calls even after I moved to Chennai, and I just offered them. This was back in 2017 itself. I just offered them, like, can we try via Skype? If you're not comfortable, then you can find someone else. But it clicked, and it's just been going on since then.
Great to know this, Kripa. You have started way earlier at
Yeah.
2017. After 2019 and 20, during COVID period, only this online thing and online coaching, online teaching all came up in a boom.
Yes.
But you started much earlier than that. I am
Yes.
so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
So, having that, you have moved from the offline teaching to online teaching. Now you are doing fully online teaching. I hope so.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what differences did you note between offline teaching and online teaching?
Um, So one of the things that I miss is the personal interaction with the students. No matter what you do in an online, it doesn't give the same feel as sitting across from them and seeing them. Um, Another thing is there is a certain element of trust that you have to have in the students. Like when you give them a test, you have to trust that they are writing it sincerely. And I also tell them that. I tell them because I deal with the higher classes 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 9 and 10 is still a little like ninth especially can still be a little childish, but they're very honest. Sometimes it's the 11th and 12th that I have a little bit of difficulty in, gauging, have they written this completely by themselves or have they copy pasted it from the internet, especially with this whole chat GPT and everything taking off. It's become very easy. In that note, ChatGPT gives wrong answers a lot of the time, so please don't use it for actual science stuff. That is one of the things that I have definitely struggled with, and still constantly trying to find ways to be innovative to ensure that the kids are being honest to themselves at the end of the day, right? Like, as much as you may cheat and copy, like even offline, of course, kids can cheat and copy, but who is it benefiting, right? So that is something that I'm still struggling with. What I love about online is the flexibility it gives me. Like, I can go, like, for example, at the end of March, my son starts his summer vacation, so I'm off to my mom's place, but I still have classes until the end of April. I don't get a break until the end of April. So I would not be able to do that if I was not in an online space. That flexibility, and even if I have to take a small trip somewhere, I can always have. So my classes have both a recorded component as well as live components. So I can always give them a recorded lesson to do on the one particular week that I'm not able to, take a class. So they're still not missing out on it. So yeah, definitely pros and cons to both sides of it. But yeah, I really enjoy the online space. It also gives me a lot of room for creativity. I can present the content in a slightly different way than just pen and paper. So yeah.
Yeah, great to know. As I was also a professor, I could relate to this. The offline is having its own pros and cons, and online also it has own pros and cons. So
Absolutely.
meeting our students in person is more connecting and bonding, but we can ensure that in our online space also. I will accept that. And having this discussion, what made how you are handling the classes, at what times are you having your classes, because the students will be going first to the school and they will be having other works also. At what times are you conducting your chemistry classes
So
online?
currently, all my classes are group sessions, and I keep everything in the evenings post 6. So this gives enough time for me because I have a son who's 5. So he comes back from school, we have lunch, we spend some time together, and by the time I have to go for my class, my husband will wrap up most of his meetings for the day and take over. So he takes care of the entire evening and bedtime routine of our son, and I get into my classes. I start typically around 6:30 sometimes, and but it goes on till at least 8:39, 5 days a week. I try not to do Saturdays, Sundays, unless like right now is exam season, so I'm basically having class all day, every day. But other than that, I try to stick to the boundaries of 5 days a week, only those timings, and I try not to compromise on those as much as I possibly can.
Really, I appreciate this, setting boundaries and having your own time limits. That's the flexibility of going online tutoring and all.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
next thing which I would like to know, as I have introduced you as a content creator, mom, and wife, and also online chemistry tutor, and also you are maintaining an Instagram page and blog as Is Style a While.
Yeah.
So its name itself gives that a stylish. So how you are share more about your multi versatile interests and how you are managing all those things.
So interestingly, it was actually my teaching career that inspired the start of the blog. Back in 2010, when I started teaching in the offline, like when I was working in school, the school had a rule that teachers had to wear saris 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday, especially when you're dealing with class 9, 10, 11, 12. So I started looking at that point for different ways to try and style the sari, and in honesty, I didn't find a lot back then. And that's kind of when I got into makeup, like everyday makeup. Till then, makeup was more of like, if I'm performing on stage, that. But
Mhm.
everyday makeup was something I started exploring when I started working. I started, buying a lot of products, trying a lot of products, and my colleagues were the ones who actually encouraged me, saying, like every time they wanted to pick up a new lipstick, they would ask me, like what's new, what's trending, come tell us, take us shopping with you, kind of thing. So they were the ones who encouraged me to start writing about it. And that's when blogs were also picking up. Makeup blogs were really starting to grow abundantly in 2010, 2011, 2012 time. So that's kind of when I started my blog. I actually didn't even tell my parents initially. Like I just used to click pictures and selfie and like post it and stuff. And my mother would get so irritated saying, you have to leave to school and you're sitting and clicking pictures of yourself. What's wrong with you? Leave. It took a solid year for me to tell my parents and show them the website saying that, listen, I've done this. And I did everything by myself at that point because I didn't know who to, reach out to help for. So that's kind of how it is. So I would truly say that my teaching career is what inspired me to start the blog in the first place. So shutting it down was never an option for me. It was a matter of finding the balance, which I still struggle with a lot. I think writing is something that I've always loved, even as a child. Even as young as 8 and 9, I used to write stories. I used to love writing in general. It was my therapy. Like writing is my therapy. So I started the makeup blog purely as a way. It was actually supposed to be a fashion blog, but clicking outfit pictures without my parents figuring out was very difficult. So it kind of converted into a makeup blog. But once I told them, they were really supportive of it, and they would help me to click pictures when we went out, and I had friends who would help me, and that's kind of how I grew it. And I think for me, the core idea of fashion and styling was that I'm a person who repeats the clothes anyway. So I just wanted to find ways to style it differently each time. And that's what I wanted to log. It was more of, the typical actual logging of, oh, I wore it this way last time, so what can I do differently this time? That's kind of, and my blog actually still exists. It's not active anymore as such. I'm trying to get back to that, but I'm also trying to be understanding of the fact that with a 5-year-old and my classes time is limited, maybe once he's a little older, I'll actually be able to go back to full form writing, because as you can see, I'm a person who likes talking. I also like writing. So it's not impossible to capture the everything that I want to say in the limited amount of time and letters that Instagram gives. So that's something that I miss about the actual blog. But right now it's more of like, okay, tomorrow we're heading out for a function, so I will try and plan it in such a way that I shoot my content while I'm getting ready, and probably edit it while we're going in the car, or sometime in between in the afternoon when he's playing, I'll sit to edit it. This is kind of how I'm trying to balance both, best of all the worlds. At some point, something goes on the back burner. I call my blog as my abandoned child at this point, because that poor thing has not been active for a while. But yeah, this is kind of how I'm trying to balance, um, everything that I enjoy doing. I love teaching, and I'm not ready to give that up and and take up blogging full time. At the same time, I enjoy writing, so I'm not ready to give up on that dream yet, to just focus on teaching and the house and stuff. So yeah, it
It's
gets difficult.
it's so much interesting, Kripa, that you are finding, as you told, you are finding way to accommodate everything which you love. So
Yeah.
this part is missing in current women. They mostly concentrate either on their career or otherwise on their family, and then after some time, that is after 30, 35, that during that midlife, they will feel so much lost. They have lost their identity and everything. So
True.
what one thing which you would like to say for that women? How you are doing all this? I would like to know from you.
Okay, so I think two things that I've realized. One is I definitely had an identity crisis post marriage, because it was a new city. I had quit my job, full time job. I hadn't found anything here yet. I didn't know what I wanted to do here yet, and I couldn't get into blogging as full fledged as I hoped, because I was living in a joint family, and my in laws were very aged, and I didn't know how to explain the blog to them. Basically, I mean, once I did, they understood, but initially I went through a massive identity crisis where, like, I literally don't know who I am. And at that point, a couple of things that brought me back was, one was finding my own routine in this family. right? I walked into a house that was already established, like unlike many people who get married and set up their own houses, I walked into a house where everyone already had their own routines, everything had a place and all of that. So I had to find my place in that. It took a little bit of time and understanding, but I did, like a couple of things that I would ensure I did was I started working out at home itself. I started finding a way to, and I also went for Zumba classes in between. So I found a way to focus on my health. Every now and then I would tell my mother-in-law, is it okay if I don't have, this food today? Can I make something for myself? So, like once a week I would do something just that I want to eat. My husband would ensure that we go out on the weekends, at least one day of the weekends that we go out. So there was a lot of, and of course, it really helped that my in-laws were also very understanding of the entire situation, and they gave me a free rein to decide what I wanted to do. They were like, you want to go for a job, please go ahead. You want to work from home, please go ahead. And I think the minute I got that first student for my online teaching, that was my anchor. Okay, that brought me back. Like, I now had a routine. I now had that thing in place that I have to prepare for my classes. So that brought me back. I think the second time I went through a little bit of the crisis was after my son was born. Not even the initial couple of months, because I was with my parents. But once I moved back here, and it was only my husband, I, and my mother-in-law at that point. I was like, how do I manage it all? And he is not a very great sleeper. So my son. So I had a lot of difficulty. And I'm an early morning person. Like, I need to be up and do everything in the morning. Like, I have to work out in the morning. I have to prepare for my class in the morning. So it definitely took a while for us to find. For me to find my routine incorporating him, I would say it took almost 2 years to figure things out. Like, he was almost beyond 2 by the time I found myself in a better place. And I just want to say that these existential moments are going to happen to everyone. You got to find your anchor. For me, classes have always been that anchor, that thing that brings me back to not just reality, but brings a routine into my day every single time. Like, everything I plan is around that at the end of the day. Like, if I have to sit for a class at 6, I know I have to get X, Y, and Z done before that. And that automatically makes me do it. So you find that one thing that anchors you, that one thing that whatever happens, you'll get up in the morning for, right? That will bring you out of this identity crisis, no matter when it is, right? Well, no matter which phase you're in. You could be a student, because again, I know when I finished my master's and I was looking for a job, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was just putting, like, literally throwing arrows in all directions, hoping something will hit somewhere. And I went through a very frustrated 8 months of not having the job, not studying, and everything. So at that point, again, I had not yet found that anchor of my classes, because this was before I started teaching. So I was very lost. But yes, I would say find that anchor, something that really, that you're passionate about. You may not be able to do it full time. Like, honestly, if I was given a chance, I would sit and write for 2 hours a day. I would teach for 2 hours a day. I would work out for 1 hour a day. But I understand that's practically not possible at this time, right? So we've got to somewhere let go of certain things to some extent. But I wouldn't say don't let go of the desire to want to do more. It's okay. You may not be able to achieve it every time, but at least you know that fire is still there within you, and you've got to keep that alive. You've got to keep feeding it in whatever small way you can.
So thank you so much, Kripa. You have given such a great hack for all of us. Please, ladies who are listening to Kripa in this live, you get that point. You have to find your anchor. That is a very powerful mantra to go about what you are loving to do. That anchor keeps you going. So thank you so much, Kripa, for sharing that hack with us, all of us. And those who are listening, do you have any queries regarding anything chemistry online tutoring or anything regarding? So you can post the queries in comments, and Kripa will be happy to answer your queries too. And having this, let me make a slightly lighter question. How you are managing your naughty kid and doing all these things, and let us know what is your daily routine.
So Apu is a very active kid. He'll be turning 5 in, well, less than a month actually. So like I said, my initial 2 years was very rocky. I felt like all I was doing was feeding him, putting him to sleep, and cleaning his diaper. That's pretty much like what I felt I was doing. I went through a very frustrated phase, but then once he started sleeping through the night, and more importantly, I think once I weaned him off my feed, we had to find other ways to bond. So our daily routine right now, because he has school, he's going to school. He's in LKG. Our morning routine is very clear. We wake up in and around the same time, and I get him ready, put him in the van, and only after that I get started. So by the time he leaves for the van, breakfast is ready. That's like the first thing I get done. And then I take care of cutting the vegetables for lunch, and my husband handles the cooking part of it, and then I take care of the cleaning part of it after that. And then we all have lunch together if my husband's at home. If he's not at home, then I pick up Apu and we have lunch together. Post lunch, well, honestly, I just switch on the TV for a while. I said, please, you watch. I need a nap. So he watches TV while I take a nap, because he doesn't nap in the afternoon anymore. So that's kind of my way of grabbing 20 minutes to myself. Or some days, if I'm not napping, then I will also use that time to watch something else. While he's watching, I'll watch something else. Then tea time is kind of when I get him active again. So besides that, whatever I'd say, like an hour or so that he watches TV during the entire day, um, he's a very playful kid. He loves playing with his cars. He's very happy playing by himself, provided I'm in the vicinity. So it makes life easy for me when I need to work on something. We also spend a little bit time. We try to spend time every day reading one book at least together, or doing some written work or something, because they're moving into that stage of written work now. So we try to bring that in. We call it as worksheet time, and he has fun. I try to make it fun. Compulsorily, 5 o'clock, I take him. We live in an independent house, so I have not an open terrace, a covered terrace where I compulsorily take him up at 5. So almost from 5 to 5:45, I'm with him playing. And then my husband, literally, it's like we exchange battens. He gives me the house key and he takes Apu and he continues playing, and I come down and I get ready for my class. Post 6 o'clock, it's just me, my students, and that's pretty much it. My husband takes care of the entire bedtime routine. By the time I'm done with my class at 9 o'clock, my kid is asleep. So post 9, I do the last batch of the cleaning. If I have corrections, I do corrections. If I don't have corrections, then I use that time to. It kind of depends. If I've had a really terrible class that day, then I just usually grab some ice cream and do nothing. So this, this is how it works. All of my blogging stuff is in between all of this. Like sometimes I shoot, if I have like an extra 10 minutes, I shoot before I get into class. So I get ready for class and I shoot that. Some mornings when he's in school is ideally when I prepare for class. If I don't have too much to prepare for class, then I shoot for the blog or I shoot some videos, whatever. So this is kind of how I do it on a daily basis. So yeah.
I just love the way you are using your husband also getting involved in the house and everything. That is the good thing
Yes,
which we have to learn. So
absolutely.
yes, we have to learn the art of asking and getting help.
Yes.
That is a great art, I think so, and you are doing it well.
And we both
Congrats,
have a
Kripa.
very
And
simple understanding that if there's someday we can't cook, we just buy food. It's okay. Like sometimes dinner, he may come back late from the office and not be able to make dinner. I may have been playing with Apu the entire evening, so I wouldn't have been able to make dinner. So we just buy dinner. That's kind of how we try to, take care of that. Ultimately, we have to eat. It's okay once in a while if we're not able to make it at home from scratch, or we keep it really simple. Like ready-made chapatis, idlis,
yeah,
and just stick to that. Like we just simplify that time, because the time with him is more important, and getting that time and keeping, because if I don't give that time to him, he will come and disturb me when I'm in class. So I need to give him that
yeah,
that undisturbed time. Then it's fine. Then he's good to know. I think there's a
yes,
couple of questions
yeah.
here.
They are
How can a
asking about.
newbie? Yeah. All right. Okay. So I would say if you're looking to start online tuition, don't look to start on your own. look at joining any of these already established websites where they will bring the students in for you. I think one of the things that people don't understand is, while Instagram is a great place to grow, kind of depending on what you're trying to teach. If you're looking to teach school children, finding students online in this space will be a lot more difficult because it's mostly parents who are here, right? And for parents to know that you're credible, they will need to anyway talk to you. It's not like people have this conception that, oh, just like all these coaches, if I post something, people will sign and I'll just have like 50 students signing up. It does not work like that. I'm really sorry to break that bubble, but that's the reality of it. It does not work like that. It takes a while. Like, if I'm being honest, I have a chemistry page, dedicated chemistry page here on Instagram. But if you ask me how many students have I got, and I've had that page for almost about 3 years now, how many students have I actually gotten from that? Maybe 4 to 5 in the entire 3 years, right? It is not something that takes off. So please find, either don't start online, start offline and then move online, or find a website where you can sign up. So there's lots of these tutorial websites where you can sign up as a tutor. My Private Tutor is one such website, where you can sign up and register yourself as a tutor there. There's a lot more like that. There's something called Chegg. So Chegg, actually Chegg, Chegg is more of a doubt clearing site. So you can sign up as a person who's clearing doubts, and the more doubts you clear, the more your popularity grows on the website. And then from there you can convert into getting students as well. So these are some of the options that I would say that you can look at to get into it. In terms of forget everything else, the basic core of taking online tuition or any tuition is be a subject matter expert. Be comfortable in your subject. Make sure that you are preparing for the sessions. Make sure that you are doing your homework with respect to the syllabus, the question paper pattern, and all of these things, because parents and students who come in today are a lot more aware of what is happening in their respective syllabus and curriculum and etc. You can't fake it, right? They will see through you immediately. You need to be comfortable with what you're teaching. So choose a subject that you are comfortable with. Don't just go for something that's trending. Like, one of the biggest things I see is that people who take biology and chemistry also take physics because science is asked for as a whole. I understand that's a demand, but if that's not your forte, then you're not doing justice to the child by teaching them a subject like you're not good at. So I very categorically tell people, I don't take any other subject. I will not take any other subject. I might be okay with biology, but I'm still not going to do justice to it the way I'm doing it for chemistry. So I would say, make yourself prepared first. Don't overthink it. Just sign up somewhere. What is the worst case scenario? You'll go, you'll attempt, you may not enjoy it, you'll get out of it. It's fine, right? Or you'll go, you'll try, you'll realize the subject is not for you and you'll change the subject. Again, it's okay. Maybe you'll find that you don't like working with the higher standards and you want to work with the lower standards. Again, okay. You have all the right in the world to start over whenever you want to start over, right? In terms of freelancing websites, honestly, if you look at websites like Vedantu, etc., they're great for people who are starting off tuition, but they do have certain criteria, meaning you have to fulfill a certain number of hours in a particular week or a month. All right. Same thing with another website called Tutor Vista. Again, they have certain criteria where there's X number of classes you have to take in a particular week to fulfill the criteria and get your payment. I think if you're starting off by yourself, um, this is a better option because it also gives you the structure. They bring the students into you, they give you the structure. You just need to prepare for your class and do it. You don't have to have the hassle of wondering where is my next student going to come from. So that's a great place to start. But if you feel, no, I don't want to be with anyone, I just want to be by myself, then you have to be ready to talk about yourself everywhere. You have to promote, because no one will promote you. You go out there, you promote yourself anywhere, everywhere. I found that area wise Facebook groups are a great way to also do it. You need to be regular, like you need to regularly post saying, I'm a tutor taking X and X classes, these grades, these are the timings, whatever, and all that. You'll have 50 rejections and maybe 2 people will say yes, but that's where you start. So start. It doesn't matter. Even if they say, I want one-to-one sessions, start with that. If they say, I only want to come 2 times a week, go ahead, start with that, right? But just get started. Sometimes our biggest problem is just waiting for everything to be
Yes.
perfect and aligned, and it's never going to be. It's never, like,
Yes.
you're gonna have tech issues. You're gonna have some time where people will join and then leave you halfway. All of that is going to happen. You're going to have people who will come, who will ghost you. You won't get payments. All of that will happen, and you've just got to say, okay, this happened, this is done, okay, fine, let's move on. What next? So yeah, but that's what I would say.
Yes, yes, just to start. That is the point which you want to mention. And Kripa, you please send me those sites,
Sure.
websites which you have mentioned. I will put it in the comment section of this video. It will be helpful for others to go through again. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Kripa. Thank you. So, I would like to ask another question that if, as a teacher, in a offline teaching, we would be easily identifying the slow learners, and also we will be able to accommodate, and we will be able to help them easily. But in online space, how are you helping the slow learners to get
Okay.
motivated?
So one of the things that I offer is my classes are a blended learning mode, which means the lessons that I take live are also available in a recorded form. That's one of the things that I have ensured for the past, ever since Apu's been born. So almost for 4 years now, I've been ensuring that all my classes are recorded. If a student wants to do something completely in their time, like my class timings don't match for them, whatever be the scenario, I give them a fully recorded program, and we set a study plan, and they sit and watch the videos based on that. I also make sure that there are very regular assignments that I follow up with, and as and when there's a requirement, I sit down and do a one-to-one session with the child. This is one of the things that I do. So the regular assignments also helps me kind of assess where they are with a particular chapter. What is their comfort zone, what is not their comfort zone, and I also make sure that I'm constantly in touch with the parent, because especially at an 11th and 12th level, there's a tendency for parents to take the step back. They feel the child is old enough. And as much as I want to agree, and the child has to start taking their own responsibility at that age, they're still a child. Like mentally, they're still a child, right? So there is a certain amount, like whether the parent wants to hear from me or not, I don't care. I tell them, this is my update. This is what I sincerely feel. And at times, if I feel that the child is not benefiting from online, I request the parents to shift them offline or find someone online who can do only one-to-one with them, because mine is not purely one-to-one. There is a very big difference even in online. When you're working with a child just on a one-to-one basis every single week, there is a very different progress that you see versus in a group. At the end of the day, in a group class, even if it's a small group, like I restrict my numbers to less than 10 per group, and I generally have only one group per grade. So I don't have multiple batches for the same thing. Like 12 standards, I don't have multiple batches. It's one group of, how many ever, like, less than 10 ideally. So that small class, there are still people who are not comfortable to raise doubts. So I tell them, you don't want to talk there to me? Fine, send it to me on WhatsApp. Send it out to me on WhatsApp. Or while I'm keeping track, like, I try to, like, I'll ask them questions in class. We do quizzes in class, and I kind of try to see where they are. I make them stay back after class for 10 minutes. I say, I need to talk to you, stay back. And then I ensure that they have a conversation with me, because some of them will not open up. Even if it's just 10 people, they will not open up. So these are some of the things that I try to do to increase the interaction with the child, because like I said, offline is so nice when you get to see the child and all of that. Online can be a little dry, and I understand that, which is why I try to throw in as much of interactive things as I possibly can, especially for the younger classes. The videos, the platform that I posted on, they created into interactive videos itself. So there are like in video questions that pop up that the children can answer. There's like some extra information links that the kids can go on to, etc. So those are the things that I do for the ninth and the 10th. For 11th and 12th, I end up being a little more serious, more than I want to, because we're so much under time constraint to finish the portion and stick to the syllabus and all of those things. So it gets a little intense after a point. Like usually this time of the year, like in March, I'll be starting my next batch of 12th. there it'll be all nice, but by the time we hit July, the intensity hits. So yeah, that's something that there's nothing that can be done unless the curriculum changes and the way of testing changes. Nothing can be done about that.
Super, super, Kripa. I could see a teacher, mom, and everything in one person. I'm being sad that my son is now engineering final year. If he is a little kid, I would certainly send him to you for chemistry. So chemistry is such a tough, dry subject. Nobody will like to study chemistry if until then they love it.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that,
Thank you
Kripa,
so
and more
much.
abundance and more power to you. I really wish you more students to come to you.
Thank you
So
so much.
the thing is, where you are posting all your content, do you use any learning platform for that
Yes, I'm
recorded
on a private
courses?
platform. I'm on a private platform called Invenk Learn. That's where
Invite, learn.
Invenk Learn, yeah, Invenk
Oh,
Learn. That's where all of my content is hosted, and kept.
okay.
It's a private platform, so it will not be open to like no one
Mm,
from except the people who are signed up for my classes will not be able to view the content. And
mm,
even within my classes, an 11th standard student can only see his course. He will not be able to see anything else.
mm.
So less distractions, more focus is what we go for.
Okay. So great. So you please give those sites
Sure.
and websites. I will post it in the comment so that if anyone wants to become a tutor or online coaches or teachers like this, it
Yes,
may be helpful for them.
absolutely.
So I would like to ask one mantra or
Okay.
one thing for students and one thing for parents. One
Okay.
mantra.
So my personal mantra, I think this applies for both, is that you learn something new every day. Okay. And this is something that I've been believing in since the beginning. It could be in any form. I might learn something new about my son. I might learn something new about myself. I might learn something new in the subject itself that I'm teaching. But you learn something new every day. If you go into the day thinking that, yes, I'm open to learning, you will find something new that you learn every day. And I think that keeping that open is super crucial, definitely for students. Absolutely.
Mm,
I think for parents, my one of the things that I follow for my son personally is my dreams are my dreams. It's not his dream. So his dreams are his dreams. I have to allow him to pursue his dream and not push my dream onto him. That's one of the things that I try to that both of us, my husband and I, both of us try to ensure that we are giving him that opportunity. Even if it's as simple as, okay, I want you to wear a red shirt today, but do you want to wear this red shirt? At least I'll give you another red shirt if you don't want to wear this, right? So something like that, right? So that I think allowing him to take those independent choices right from the start has given us a slightly overly independent child, but I'm going to see that as a blessing going forward.
yeah,
Right now
true.
it's a little difficult, but I'm hoping that he also learns to find the mid path, but yes, his dreams are his dreams, my dreams are my dreams. I have no right to push what I want onto him.
Great advice for parents, those who are listening, those who are having small kids. Please follow this mantra. Your dream is your dream, their dream is their dream. So don't force anything to the students or anything to your kids as you wish
Yeah.
for. So thank you.
I
Thank you
see
for.
this a lot more in the older students, where a lot of them are actually doing science out of a my parents said I have to do it. It'll
Mm,
open up opportunities in my future thing. And I really hope that changes, because when you go into studying something that you have zero interest in, it makes it all the more difficult. If you love what you do, it makes it, like, I understand there are certain things non-compromisable. Like, I have a student who is 100% sure he wants to go continue in the coding line. He loves coding,
mm,
computer science and coding. But unfortunately, he cannot let go of physics and chemistry, because for engineering, he needs that. So, yes, I understand that. But the good part is it's his dream to code, and his parents are, happy with that. They're allowing him to explore his dream. So he's doing a lot more in the field of computers already at a stage at just 9th standard level. But at the same time, he also understands that he has to force himself to sit down and study chemistry, even though he doesn't like it. So those are the moments where it becomes a little difficult. Like, you can't say just drop this because you
Yeah,
like that. Yes, but at the same time, they're finding a middle path. They're finding a way that they're like, okay, you want to spend time, you can, but you've also got to spend time studying the other subjects. You cannot do only computer science and English all the time. So yeah, I think finding that middle ground is super essential. As much as I might say your dreams are your dreams, if your dreams require ancillary things, then we have to find a way to make that happen.
yeah, true. I agree that. And you people make those boring or those monotonous learning into an interactive
Yeah,
and interesting way. That is
we try to.
the part of online teachers or
Yeah.
any teachers making it interesting.
Yes.
So I hats off to you teachers, as I am also
Yes.
a teacher. I love teaching people in a creative and unique way. Thank you.
Thank you so
So
much.
yeah, yes, yes. Those who are in the live session, if you have any queries for Kripa regarding your passion, how to explore passion or anything, you can post the queries and Kripa will be happy to answer that.
Yes. We have another like 5 minutes
Yes,
before I have to run to pick my son.
yes. I know that. Yes. So last one question which I want
Yes.
to ask you is that those women at the middle age, they want to explore their passion once again. They might have lost their interest in their passion due to family and the other things. If a middle-aged woman want to explore their passion and want to create something for their own, what advice will you give them?
Just go for it. I mean, like, what are you waiting for, right? So I turned 40 this year, at the end of this year. And while 40 sounds like, oh my God, I turned 40, I have to be very honest, I'm very excited because I see it as I grow older, I see it as me getting more freedom to do the things that I want to do. As against in my younger years where it was restricted by multiple factors. So yeah, definitely, I think that if you decide you want to find your balance, you will. I think it starts by setting boundaries. Like, for example, like between my husband and I, we have very clear things. He loves cricket. He still plays for a league and he's very clear. He will go once a week, one weekend, usually one of the weekend days he will go. And we ensure that he chooses a match time when I don't have a class. So one of us can be there with my son. When we were newly married, he would set one day for a match and the other day we would go out somewhere together. So those boundaries were set right from the start. Like he was very clear, I will not be giving up my passion of playing cricket. And I was like, I'm not going to give up my passion. It doesn't matter. We might just go to the local, we might just go to the mall, but I'm still going to dress up and come. That's I enjoy doing that, right? So if it means we're going to leave 10 minutes late, we're going to leave 10 minutes late. It's fine. So yeah, I think you should just go for it, but start off by setting the boundaries first. Like you can't wake up one morning and say, listen, I'm going back to work today, just figure it out. So start off by setting the boundaries initially, and people are a lot more open. Like even though there's an older generation, I'm 40 and I'm saying this, there's an older generation, they understand today. Like there's a lot of things that I think my parents understand better about me today than they did when I was 20. So yeah, the older generation is also opening up to a lot more different things than what we know. It's a matter of, and it's not just middle age. I think 20-year-olds today think that a 50-year-old parent is not going to understand what they're saying. You're mistaken. Talk to them. You'll be surprised at how much they know and they understand about what you're trying to talk about. So yeah, just go for it. I mean, if you really are passionate about something, it could be as simple. Like I know my mother-in-law used to do tangible painting till the age of 70.
Oh, wow.
Okay, even after I got married and came, she was 72 when I got married and came in. She still had a couple of projects going on that she completed I think by the time I hit my first anniversary, she completed that.
Great.
So yeah,
Great
it
to
became
know.
a lot slower and it took a lot more time for her. The precision was a little difficult for her, but she still pursued it in between. And she was a person who raised not just 3 kids, but lived in a joint family that had 10 people at one point in time. I mean, if she could do it, anyone can, right? So yes, absolutely. Please go for it.
Yes.
Just do it. Start small, but go for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kripa, for your wonderful conversation with us. We had so many golden points from your conversation. Still, we have so many things to discuss with you. So we would find another time to go live or
Absolutely.
something other kind of collaboration.
Fine.
So people,
Excellent.
those who are attending this live session, hope this all the golden nuggets from Kripa is going to help you in more longer way. Thank you
Thank you
so much, Kripa,
so
for
much.
coming as a guest to our show. And I am looking forward to host another kind of collaboration or another kind of live session with you.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much, Kripa.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. Bye.
Take care. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, guys, those who are here, please go through this recording, and you can have this recording watched, and then you can share 3 key takeaways from the conversation with Kripa and share that in your Instagram stories, so that tagging myself and Kripa, so that you will get a surprise gift from me. Okay, I had so many wisdom revealed while discussing with Kripa, setting boundaries and having one anchor to start your passion or to explore your passion, and also how to go or how to handle the kids, and how to make or how to get help from the family. And there are many lot of things which we have to learn from Kripa. So I wholeheartedly thank Kripa for being the guest for our Unstoppable Shaktis Empowered Women interview series. Do you have any other queries, guys? Thank you, Banu. So hope this session is benefiting you in a very different dimension. And as you all know, we are hosting this Unstoppable Shaktis Empowered Women interview series right from Jan 29 onwards, and we have had 3 guests so far. The first guest was Hani Vashani, and second guest last week was Gargi Arya, and today in this show we had Kripa with us. So we are having so many women here to empower us in the coming weeks in our Unstoppable Shaktis Women interview series, and stay tuned every Thursday at 12 p.m. so that you would get so many wide variety of women coming over here and having a conversation with me, so that you can get so many kind of life lessons from their experiences. Thank you for tuning up. And if you want to discuss any particular topic like boundary setting or being productive or mindful parenting or anything like that, if you want us to discuss about any particular topic, kindly give it in the comments and we will consider, and I will try to incorporate that topic in my future live shows. So thank you for showing up here, and please make the Instagram story and share the 3 key takeaways from the discussion with Kripa, tagging myself at Vivek Vasanta and tagging Kripa at Ish Taylor Wild page, and you can have a surprise gift from me. Take care, guys. Bye. See you. Stay mindful. Stay happy. Bye-bye.